My fiancé suddenly walked out of our cake tasting appointment and texted me, "I can't marry you. I need someone more exciting. You're not on my level." I told the bakery, cancel the order. An hour later, I found out he had run straight to his ex, the same woman who dumped him 2 years ago. 3 days later, he and his ex were both standing at my door, panicking while I'm Jennifer, 31. And until last week, I thought I had my life figured out. I'd been engaged to Carl for 7 months, together for 2 years total. The wedding was 3 months away. Invitations sent, venue booked, deposits paid. We'd been planning our future down to the paint colors in our hypothetical house. Then he blew it all up during a cake tasting. We'd scheduled the appointment at this upscale bakery for a Tuesday afternoon. Both of us took time off work. I showed up on time, excited actually, because Carl had been stressed about wedding planning, and I thought this would be a fun, low-pressure activity. He arrived 15 minutes late, which wasn't unusual, but he seemed off, distracted, kept checking his phone. The baker brought out the first samples, vanilla bean with raspberry filling. I tried mine, made some comment about how good it was. Carl barely touched his, just pushed it around his plate with a fork. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, fine," he said, not looking at me. We tried 3 more flavors. He was completely checked out. Finally, the baker excused herself to get the contract paperwork, and that's when Carl stood up abruptly. "I need to go," he said. "What? We're in the middle of—" "I just need to go, Jennifer. I can't do this right now." He grabbed his jacket and walked out, just left me sitting there with the baker coming back with forms in her hand. I apologized, said we'd need to reschedule, and went outside to find Carl. His car was already gone. I called him 3 times. No answer. Then I got a text. "I can't marry you. I need someone more exciting. You're not on my level. I'm sorry." I stood in that parking lot for probably 10 minutes just staring at my phone. Not on my level. We'd been together for 2 years. He'd said yes when I proposed. We'd planned an entire wedding, and he was ending it via text in a bakery parking lot. I went back inside and told the baker to cancel our order. She looked sympathetic but didn't ask questions, which I appreciated. Then I drove home in a daze. By the time I got home, Carl had already been by the apartment. We lived together, and he'd taken some of his things. Not everything, just essentials. Clothes, toiletries, his laptop. There was no note, no explanation beyond that text. I called my best friend Ryan and told him what happened. He went quiet for a second, then said, "Jen, I hate to tell you this, but Carl's ex, Brianna, is back in town. I saw her at the gym yesterday. She asked about him." Brianna, Carl's ex-girlfriend from before me. They dated for 3 years, and according to Carl, she dumped him out of nowhere and moved across the country for work. Broke his heart. He told me multiple times that their relationship had been intense but toxic, that he'd grown as a person since then, that he'd never go back to that. "You think he's with her?" I asked. "I don't know, but the timing is weird." I checked social media. Nothing. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our shared iCloud account. We'd set it up months ago to share photos and calendars. His location was on. He was at Brianna's mom's house. I recognized the address because Carl had pointed it out once when we drove past it. So yeah, he'd walked out of our cake tasting and driven straight to his ex's place. The ex who supposedly destroyed him. The ex he claimed he was completely over. I sat on the couch for hours trying to process it. Finally, around 11 p.m., I started making calls. First to the wedding venue, canceled. Lost the deposit but didn't care. Then to the caterer, canceled. Then to the photographer, the florist, the DJ. I spent 2 hours systematically dismantling our wedding while Carl was presumably reconnecting with Brianna. Update 1. The next morning, I woke up to 17 texts from Carl's friends. Apparently, he'd told them I'd been emotionally distant and that he needed to follow his heart. No mention of Brianna, of course. I didn't respond to any of them. Around noon, Carl's sister Madison called me. Madison and I had always gotten along well. She was supposed to be the best woman. "Jennifer, what the hell happened?" she asked. I told her everything. The cake tasting, the text, how Carl went straight to Brianna's. Madison was quiet for a long moment. "He's with Brianna? Are you sure?" "I'm sure." "Oh my God, Jennifer, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. Our family loves you. This is insane. Does your family know about Brianna?" "They know he called off the wedding. He told them you two grew apart. He didn't mention Brianna at all." "Of course he didn't. Madison, can you do me a favor? Don't tell him we talked. Just let this play out." "What are you planning?" "Nothing. I'm just done being the bad guy in whatever story he's telling people." That afternoon, I got a call from our landlord. Carl had contacted him asking to be removed from the lease. He wanted out completely, which meant I'd need to cover full rent or move. I told him I'd take over the lease myself. I didn't want to move. This was my place too. Then I started packing up Carl's remaining stuff. Not angrily, just methodically. Boxed everything up, labeled it, stacked it near the door. If he wanted his things, he could get them, but I wasn't going to live surrounded by reminders. 2 days after the cake incident, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, I heard a woman's voice. Jennifer? Hey, it's Brianna. Look, I know this is weird, but can we talk? About what? About Carl. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. What kind of misunderstanding? He told me you two broke up weeks ago. He said the wedding was already canceled and you'd both moved on. He told you that? Yeah. He said he'd been trying to work things out, but you were seeing someone else. I swear I didn't know you two were still together. I wouldn't have... Wouldn't have what? I asked. Slept with him. Silence. I'm really sorry, she said finally. This is messed up. Where is he now? He's here, at my mom's place. He's been staying here since Tuesday. Put him on the phone. More silence. Then Carl's voice, small and defensive. Jennifer, you told her we broke up weeks ago? I was going to break up with you. I'd been thinking about it for... That's not the same as actually doing it. You were still wearing your engagement ring at that cake tasting. You were still living in our apartment. You lied to her about me, and you lied to me about her. I didn't lie. You absolutely did. You walked out of that bakery and drove straight to her. You didn't need someone more exciting. You needed her specifically. Just say that. He started crying. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. How did you mean for it to happen? Were you going to wait until after the wedding? That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Texting your fiancé that she's not on your level while you're in a parking lot about to go sleep with your ex. That's not fair. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Update 2. Day 3 after the bakery incident, I was at home watching TV, still in sweatpants, still processing everything, when there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Carl and Brianna standing there. Both of them looked awful. Carl had clearly been crying. Brianna looked stressed and uncomfortable. What do you want? I asked, not moving from the doorway. Can we come in? Carl asked. We need to talk to you. No, you can talk from there. Brianna spoke up. Look, Jennifer, this whole thing is a mess. Carl told me you two were done and I believed him. I feel terrible. Cool, feel terrible somewhere else. Please, Carl said. Can we just talk like adults? Adults don't blow up their relationships via text message. Jennifer, he said, taking a shaky breath. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I got scared about the wedding, and I panicked. I ran to Brianna because she felt safe and familiar, but I realize now that I love you. I want to fix this. I stared at him. You want to fix this? Yes, I know I hurt you, but people make mistakes. We can go to counseling. We can postpone the wedding. Whatever you need. What changed? I asked. 3 days ago, I wasn't on your level. What's different now? He glanced at Brianna. She looked away. Brianna and I realized we're not compatible anymore, he said carefully. We've both changed. It wasn't what I remembered. So you came back to me because it didn't work out with her. That's your pitch. That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you're saying. I closed the door. Carl's voice was muffled, panicked. Brianna said something low and sharp. A few minutes passed before their footsteps finally retreated. I stood there longer than I needed to, my forehead pressed against the door, my chest tight but strangely steady. Update 3. The next morning, I put all of Carl's boxes on the porch. He came by around 10 a.m. to get them. I watched from the window as he loaded everything into Brianna's car. I guess she was helping him move. They didn't knock. They didn't try to talk to me again. Over the next week, the full story started coming out through mutual friends. It turned out Carl and Brianna had been texting for about a month before she moved back to town. Nothing physical until after he left me, according to both of them. But emotionally, he'd already checked out. Several of our friends felt betrayed on my behalf and cut him off completely. A few took his side, said I was being too harsh, that everyone deserves forgiveness. I didn't argue. I just let those friendships fade. Carl's family reached out individually. His mom apologized profusely and said she was ashamed of his behavior. His dad offered to pay back my portion of the wedding deposits, which I declined, but appreciated. Madison kept in touch, giving me updates I didn't ask for but kind of wanted. The most interesting update came 3 weeks after everything went down. Carl and Brianna had a massive fight and broke up again. According to Madison, Brianna told Carl she couldn't trust him after he'd lied to her about me, and Carl accused her of leading him on and romanticizing their past. They were both apparently miserable. She keeps asking about you, Madison told me over coffee one afternoon. Wants to know if you're seeing anyone, if you hate her, if there's any chance you'd talk to her. What do you tell him? I asked. That you've moved on, and he needs to do the same. Good. She studied me for a moment. Have you moved on, though? I thought about it. I'm getting there. Some days are harder than others. But I'm not sitting around waiting for him to come back, if that's what you mean. Madison smiled softly. That's good. You deserve someone who doesn't need to test other options to appreciate you. Final update. It's been 4 months since the cake tasting disaster. I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I threw myself into work, started going to the gym regularly, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the relationship. My apartment feels like mine now instead of ours. I repainted the bedroom, rearranged the furniture, got rid of anything that reminded me too much of him. I also got a dog, a rescue named Murphy. He's an absolute mess, chews everything, has no concept of personal space, but he makes me laugh every day. Carl tried to reach out a few times, a long email apologizing and explaining his thought process, which I read once and deleted. A birthday text I didn't respond to, a message through Madison asking if we could meet for coffee to get closure. I declined through Madison. I don't need closure from him. I got my closure when I canceled that wedding and packed up his things. I heard through the grapevine that Carl's been struggling, lost some friends. His family's disappointed in him. He's in therapy, trying to work through why he sabotaged a good relationship. I don't take pleasure in that, but I don't feel guilty about it either. He made his choices. Brianna apparently moved back across the country. She couldn't handle the drama and the awkwardness of running into mutual friends who knew what happened. I can't say I blame her. I also don't feel particularly sorry for her. The weirdest part of this whole thing is how many people have told me I dodged a bullet. At first, I hated hearing that because it felt like they were minimizing what I'd lost. But they're right. I didn't just lose a fiancé. I avoided marrying someone who would have done this eventually anyway. Better to find out at a cake tasting than at a 5-year anniversary. I've started dating casually, nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. The difference now is that I know what I won't tolerate. I won't tolerate someone who makes me feel like I'm not enough. I won't tolerate someone who keeps one foot out the door. I won't tolerate being someone's backup plan. My friend Ryan asked me last week if I'd take Carl back if he showed up tomorrow completely changed, genuinely sorry, ready to do the work. No, I said without hesitation. Because even if he's changed, I've changed too. I'm not the woman who would accept that anymore. Last week, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. A friend from college getting married next spring. There was a time when getting wedding invites would have been painful, a reminder of what I lost. But when I opened it, I just felt happy for her. Maybe that's the real sign I've moved on. I've learned a few things these past months. I've learned that someone can love you and still betray you. I've learned that closure doesn't always come from conversations. Sometimes it comes from simply deciding you're done. I've learned that the trash sometimes takes itself out, and you should let it go instead of chasing after it. Mostly, I've learned that I'm going to be fine. Actually, I'm going to be better than fine because I'm choosing myself now, the way I should have been chosen all along.